Thank you for clicking on this Smashy Smashy Eggman movie reviews and more. This week's episode, I'm continuing my animals attack. Last week we went shark attack with Deep Blue Sea. This week we're going to the snakes. We're going to do a movie about snakes. If you don't like snakes, I don't have any footage of snakes, and I don't have any snakes on my set, so there will be visually no snakes. I'm just going to say the word snake a lot. So, the movie is Anaconda, from 1997. This movie isn't as good as Deep Blue Sea. Deep Blue Sea is a really good movie. It's just a lot of fun. Anaconda is, it's not bad. It's not bad. Is it the best snake movie? No. I think Snakes on a Plane is probably a more enjoyable snake movie than Anaconda. It kind of gets draggy. Anaconda got draggy at places. I haven't watched this movie in a while. I was aware of its existence, and I've been aware of its existence. Like, I watched it back in 1997 when it came out, and I probably watched it a couple of times in the 20-plus years since it came out, but I haven't watched it in a long time. It's been a hot minute. So I sat down and revisited Anaconda. It opens with a text crawl. Oh, hey, before I get into the movie, just because this movie actually does have its main character on the cover and top billed. Jennifer Lopez, Ice Cube, Jon Voight, Eric Stoltz are the billed actors. You also gain Jonathan Hyde and Owen Wilson on the back. There's also another actress whose name, I just looked it up, and I forgot what it was, but I know she's actually going to be one of our main characters in a later movie that I'm going to be talking about. That's going to be a lot of fun. I really like that one. We'll get to it, and hopefully I'll remember that she was also Anaconda, and then I can make that connection. So I wasn't thinking when I planned the order I was going to do these videos, because yes, I realized last week I talked about a movie starring rapper LL Cool J, and this week I have Ice Cube. No, I don't have an Animal Attack movie starring Ice-T next week. I don't think there's a rapper in that one. I'll double check. I don't think there's a rapper in next week's. So anyways, Anaconda opens with some text. And really this text is just to come out and tell you that something that's going to happen later in the movie is completely legitimate. Basically saying that the anaconda is a creature that does actually like to kill, and therefore will regurgitate what it's eaten so it can go and kill something else. Which, it's just basically saying that, hey, we're going to do something later in the movie, and it's okay, because we've got text at the beginning telling you this is what it's supposed to do. That's really, the text doesn't, like, it's weird. You shouldn't put this text there. It should just be dialogue. Like, make it dialogue. Make it something that's stated, and we can forget about it. So when you make it text, and you make us read it, it's going to stick in our minds longer. And again, the minute you read it, you go, oh, this is going to happen. Because there's no point in putting it there if it's not going to happen. And it does happen. And I actually remember, that was one of the parts of the movie I did remember. When I get to it, I have some complaints about it. I do. I have some complaints. So after that, we then have, we meet our first character, who is labeled in the IMDb as Poacher. Poacher is played by Danny Trejo, who is definitely voiced by somebody else. Because that does not sound like Danny Trejo. Also, I'm pretty sure Danny Trejo is supposed to be, like, Brazilian. I'm pretty sure this movie takes place in the Amazon, I think. I think it's the Amazon. Hold up. Maybe the back of the documentary film crew, headed by an anthropologist and director, venturing the world's most isolated jungle, the Amazon. Alright. I was absolutely right. So they're in the Amazon, and Danny Trejo is supposed to be playing a local, but he's definitely Mexican. But skin tone doesn't... But the minute you notice it's Danny Trejo, and he starts talking, in the appropriate language of the Amazon, but you immediately realize the timbre of the voice being used is definitely not Danny Trejo. You're like, oh, they dubbed over Danny Trejo. Maybe 97 nobody cared who Danny Trejo was or really knew his voice, but from a modern perspective, it's like, oh, they dubbed over Danny Trejo. That's weird. So Danny Trejo gets attacked by some unseen, because that's how these movies... Deep Blue Sea did the same thing, I just didn't mention it, that you can't see the creature right away. This is an established thing from Jaws, because they couldn't get the animatronic to work properly, and they had to show less of the shark, which upped the suspense. So now every monster movie since then has to do the same thing. They have to show less of the monster to try to up the suspense, but most of them do it wrong, because by the end of the movie, they're just showing way too much. Like, if you're calling a movie Anaconda, if you're literally naming your movie after an animal, and that animal is going to be your main villain, or is going to be a huge part of this movie, there's no point in not showing it. Like, Jaws doesn't necessarily... Like, the poster showed a shark, so I get that one. But even Deep Blue Sea, like, if you're just going off of the name, those don't necessarily mean it has to be a shark. Anaconda kind of tells you there's an anaconda. Although, it could have been a mislead, because I know there is a movie out there called, I think it's like Ants? No, it's not ants. I think it's spider? It's literally an animal's terminology, and the animal shows up. Rabbits. I don't think it's actually called rabbits, but it's like a different word for rabbit. And the rabbits show up. No, that's actually about giant rabbits, and that has weird perspective, because they just use regular-sized rabbits on miniatures. That's a different movie. Frogs. It actually is called Frogs. It's a movie called Frogs, and the frogs are in it for like 5 minutes. That's a misdirect. That's a misdirect. Anaconda is not a misdirect. It's an anaconda. They just don't want to show it right away. So Danny Trejo shoots himself in the head. And we move right along to meeting Jennifer Lopez, Eric Stoltz, Ice Cube. I really got to make sure, because I'm going to slip up and say Ice-T at least once, but it's Ice Cube. Owen Wilson, Jonathan Pryce, who's from Jumanji. In case that name doesn't ring a bell, he is Robin Williams' dad and the hunter, Ben Pelt, in Jumanji, just in case I say that name and a face doesn't immediately jump to it. That is who Jonathan Pryce is. They are a documentary film crew who are going down the Amazon looking for a tribe that no one has documentation of. As they're on their way downriver, they find John Voight, who is stranded, his boat's broken, and they save him and decide to give him a ride to the next village. He begins acting weird because he's actually the antagonist of this film. The Anaconda is not the villain of this film. It's just an animal doing what animals do. John Voight is actually the antagonist who is trying to capture the Anaconda. Before the Anaconda kills anyone, because the Anaconda hasn't killed anyone in a long time. And remember, when Danny Trejo was being attacked, we didn't show the Anaconda, but then a panther gets attacked, and we show the Anaconda. Which is dumb, because at no point in this scene is this a real panther. This is the fakest looking, like, stuffed panther you could find. Like, it's got a weird mouth, and they focus way too much time on its mouth. It strangulates the fake panther, and that's our kill. That's supposed to tide us over until we get to the actual kill. Eric Stoltz, who is the archaeologist looking for this tribe, goes to free the boat from being tangled up in some rope. A bug enters into his mouth, poisons him. He needs to have a tracheotomy done. So he's out of commission for basically the rest of the movie. We then try to get him back to the hospital, and we find this dam, this wall, that has has to be blown up. So they blow up the wall, their boat gets covered in snakes. They continue downriver, where finally the Anaconda, which has been on the other side of this wall, they never crossed over the wall before, and the Anaconda killed the panther. Therefore, the wall wasn't like keeping the Anaconda out. They never explain what the wall is. So it's definitely a man-made wall. Like, it's not a dam, because it has huge holes in it. So it's not damming anything. It's just a wall. It's just an obstacle. It's just an obstacle in the movie that makes no sense. This wall makes no sense, but it's there, and it rains snakes when blown up. Not blown up snakes, just alive snakes. Go back to your mama. That's what John Voight. That was a horrible John Voight imitation of this movie, but he says that like 3 times in that scene. Go back to your mama, as he's like brushing snakes off the deck of this boat. They go down. They don't go down further, and they find Danny Trejo's boat. Now, how the hell Danny Trejo's boat got there when there's a wall, and they're apparently still going with the current, and you're told, you shouldn't fight the current if you don't have to. He apparently fought the current to get there, because there was a wall. There was a wall. There was Snake Wall. Snake Wall. He was on the other side of Snake Wall. They go to investigate the boat because they don't have any fuel. They have one barrel of fuel left. They don't find any fuel, but the pilot of their ship gets attacked by the Anaconda, and the Anaconda looks good because it's a practical effect until it tries to attack. The first attack it does on this captain, it goes to like bite his face, but it's a distant shot. So it's like nothing's up close and gory in this movie. It's very much kept distance to try to cover these special effects. But the snake is positioned so poorly it doesn't look like it makes contact. The dude reacts, but it doesn't look like the snake has made contact. And so he is dead and gets eaten by the snake. John Voight then talks Owen Wilson into joining his side because the snake alive is worth a buttload of money. They then take the rest of everyone else hostage, basically, while they try to catch the snake. They attempt to catch the snake that night, and Owen Wilson gets eaten by said snake. They continue downriver. Eventually, they knock John Voight out. They trick him and knock him out so they can tie him up. But then the boat gets stuck on some rocks next to a waterfall, and as they are trying to free themselves, John Voight kills female whose name I don't remember and don't have written down here, but I'll be talking about her in a later movie. She is now dead. Jonathan Pryce tries to escape the Anaconda by climbing into the waterfall, and obviously this fails, and Jonathan Pryce is now taken out of this film. We get a fight. Ice Cube gets attacked by the Anaconda, but Jennifer Lopez shoots the Anaconda in the head twice. So the Anaconda is dead, and we all breathe a sigh of relief, but John Voight is still alive. John Voight attacks, but luckily Eric Stoltz has gained consciousness and decided he's still in this movie, so he attacks, so he shoots John Voight with a tranquilizer dart, which sends him off the boat. The boat being knocked loose from a tree that fell, because convenience, continues downriver. As the boat continues downriver, they come to an old abandoned outpost, where they go looking for fuel. They find fuel and John Voight. How he beat them there or got there in any amount of time, because it doesn't seem like a lot of time has passed. Like, they get there, and like 10 minutes later, John Voight's attacking them. So I don't know how a man who was tranquilized and dumped into a river got there so quickly. And tranquilized with the amount of tranquilizer that was supposed to put out a giant snake. John Voight captures them, ties them up, covers them in monkey's blood, because monkey's blood. And a second Anaconda shows up, because of course, we can't have just the one giant monster. We need the surprise giant monster. You all went, phew, the Anaconda's dead. She shot it in the head. You forgot about the second one. And it's bigger. Because it's the second one. Because the second one always has to be bigger. It's the rules. It's the rules. Eventually, like, he captures the snake wrapping around J-Lo and Ice Cube in a net. The net breaks, and the snake goes after John Voight and wraps itself around him. And then you hear a crack, which is definitely his back breaking. And then he looks dead. Which is really sad, because what happens next is you get this great shot down the snake's gullet of it, like, opening its jaws to eat John Voight. But because he's dead, you don't get, like, his reaction. Like, you'd want the like, that's the money shot in one of these movies. The reaction is the money shot. And there is no reaction because he is dead. Except his legs are still kicking. But he's dead. But his legs are kicking. He might not have been dead, and I don't know why there wasn't a money shot. So John Voight gets eaten by the snake. The snake then goes after J-Lo as they try to concoct the weird plan to blow up the snake. Because that's what we do in giant monster movies. We blow them up. I should have made a counter for these movies. That how many times was the solution blow them up? We're at 2. I've only done 2 movies, and our solution has been blow them up both times. We'll see. We'll see. I know there's a lot more blow them up. Oh man, this might get a perfect score. So anyways, the snake goes after J-Lo. But as it's going after J-Lo is when it regurgitates John Voight. So he's covered in, like, snake acid and all that stuff, and he winks at J-Lo. So again, I'm not sure if he was supposed to be dead. He's definitely dead in a couple of minutes, but I'm not sure if that guy was supposed to be like, oh, it's a muscle reflex, or if that was he's still alive. The movie doesn't make it clear, and I feel like it just should have been clear. Either he was definitely dead when the snake ate him, or he was definitely not dead. And if he wasn't dead, we should have been shown that. It's a small detail, but again, it's the money shot of this movie. Is that downward shot of the snake unhinging its jaw to eat John Voight. It is the money shot. And the fact that the only thing that makes the money shot is the reaction of the person who's being eaten, and we are denied that because they weren't sure if he was alive or dead. That harms this film. It really does. This film could have been so much better. Yeah, it's got crappy CG at times. That really, like, bam, that would have raised this film a lot more if we had gotten the money shot. But we didn't, and John Voight just got regurgitated. Eventually, J-Lo climbs up a smokestack, and the snake goes after it, and Ice Cube does a bunch of things to trap the snake, so J-Lo can escape. And once J-Lo's escaped, they pour some fuel and blow it up. Because again, that's what you do. You blow it up. That's how they killed Jaws. So everything else has to get blown up. The snake isn't actually fully dead. It's on fire, and it's because again, it's a practical snake. Like, they made an animatronic snake and lit it on fire, so it looks really cool. Like, this stuff works because, again, you're talking practical effects versus CG. And eventually, the snake gets its head cut off. Its final blow is its head being cut off by Ice Cube, but I'm still saying it got blown up because it got blown up. Like, that's what slowed the snake down. That's what allowed them to get to the moment of they blew it up. They blew it up. It just decided, we can't just blow it up. We have to do more. That also became the trope, is you can't just blow it up. You have to do more. I'm surprised Deep Blue Sea, it just blows it up. They do. They just blow it up. They break it into chum. They blow it up. But yeah, so the snake is defeated, and Eric Stoltz, J-Lo, and Ice Cube go back down the river. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Even though the person who knows how to pilot, captain, the boat is dead and has been dead, the boat has continued to be driven by Jonathan Pryce because apparently the boat is like his car. And then he explains how it works, and I don't get how this is like a car. But he teaches Ice Cube, and that's how the boat is still being able to be sailed at the end of this movie, is because Jonathan Pryce spent 30 seconds teaching Ice Cube how to drive. As they're going downriver back to civilization, they finally find the tribe that they were looking for and decide to start filming their documentary. Eric Stoltz still has a pen shoved in his throat so he can breathe, but they decide to shoot their documentary. 4 members of the crew of this documentary have been killed or eaten by a snake. They decide to film the documentary. This is such a weird ending. Like, why are we like, oh, everything, we still got what we came for? No, that's not the ending. The ending is get the hell out of there. I don't know, it just seems like a really disrespectful ending. Like, oh, a bunch of people just died. Let's film this tribe. We don't have a narrator because he got eaten by a snake. We don't have a sound engineer because he got eaten by a snake. We don't have a production manager because their neck was snapped by a lunatic. And we don't actually have a pilot of a captain of this ship because they got eaten by a snake. Let's film a documentary. Yeah, Anaconda's a fine movie if you're looking for a decent snake movie. It's fine. It's not the greatest. I didn't have high expectations for Anaconda when I went back to retouch base with it. But yeah, it's not as good as Deep Blue Sea. It's just not. It's kind of a subpar snake movie. But, I picked Anaconda because I hadn't watched it in a long time. And, I was a little nostalgic for it. So Anaconda got picked for those reasons. And for that, it did its job. I got my snake, my giant Anaconda nostalgia fix. I know this movie has sequels. I've never watched any of them. They're supposed to be bad. I think it even has a crossover with Lake Placid, which we'll get to. But I haven't watched that either, because I also haven't watched any of those sequels. But yeah, no, Anaconda's fine. I wouldn't rank it very high with the movies I've chosen. It might end up on the low scale. Again, I'm still not. I gotta revisit some of these movies. And there is one I've never seen before. And it's not next week, that one's the week after. But next week, I'm covering a movie that most people have never heard of, but I really, really like, to the point where I actually went and saw this movie in theaters. It's Bats. That's all. Bats. B-A-T-S. Bats. And it's upside down. It's like hanging like a bat. That's how the logo is. It's like a bat hanging from a ceiling. That's what I'm talking about next week. I really enjoy that movie, and we'll get to it. I can almost start talking about it now, and I haven't watched this movie in a couple of years. That's how much I like it, is I'm pretty sure I could almost do the review without having to watch it, but I actually really do just want to rewatch it, so I'm going to rewatch it before I shoot a review. But anyways, next week is Bats. It's going to be a good week. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any content as I continue walking through all of these animal attack movies. Go back, watch some past videos. I'm sure I have some other reviews of movies about animals attacking things from the past. Yeah, I'm Martin Prevost. This is Smashy Smashy Eggman, movie reviews and more, and I will talk to you guys next week.